we're studying supply and demand. This is a big topic, so I wanted to make sure that I gave you plenty of information. And so we're going to go over some definitions, some examples, and some ideas of where this might play into your life here at your house. First, we're going to go over some basics. Supply and demand is a key element in each economics class. If you've taken one before, either in high school or a different type of economics, I'm sure you've seen this term before. My instructor when I was in college called it the queen bee of economics. So it's pretty big. It does involve some graphing though, and that is where students sometimes get nervous. What I recommend if you're struggling with any of the graphing components is to go ahead and write out everything that you see and understand in the graph. And I'll give you some examples of this as we get going, and it'll help you realize that you know more than you think about graphing, and it doesn't have to be scary. First, we're going to focus on demand. We demand more items when prices are low. That's probably how you are at your house. You'll get an extra something if it's on sale. This means that quantity demanded increases inversely with price, and that is a definition of the law of demand. And then you can think about any items that you might demand more of when prices are low. These are pictures my children have taken of their stuffed animals. They've taken probably 300 pictures of these stuffed animals, which is fine because the prices are low. I can just delete them. When I was a kid, we used cameras, and we had film in those cameras that had to be developed, and it would take several weeks to get your pictures back. And if there would have been a single picture of a stuffed animal on that roll, I would have been in big trouble because each photo was much more expensive than it is today. So this kind of gives you a great example of what's happening at my house and some things to relate demand back to. Here is a graph. And so let me go over this. The y-axis is the one that's going vertical. It's showing our price. You'll also see on the bottom axis, which is called the x-axis, our demand. You'll sometimes see it as quantity listed at the bottom, and basically this is just the amount of the item that we're going to demand at different prices. Your curve can be straight and not really a curve at all. It can also curve the other way. Curves are very different, and basically for this class you can just draw a straight line. And you can already see if you were wanting to write something out, if this graph was confusing, you could write the price is really high here and we're not demanding many. We demand more as this price comes down low. We're also going to look at reasons for shifts in demand. That can be anything besides a change in price. I wrote some of the common ones here. Just be sure to note if you see anything with a change in price, that is going to be a change in the quantity demanded, not change in the demand curve itself. So we'll see income, population, price of other goods, tastes and preferences, expectations, and taxes. Here is a picture of a graph that shows it shifting outward. This could be there's a larger population coming into town, and so our graph's going to shift out and we're going to demand more items. It could be that our tastes have changed and we've now chosen to buy more of one item over another. Maybe we saw something on TV saying a particular food was good for us. That would be a change in preferences, and that would shift it out as well. So if you get confused, go back to the graph and write it all out. Showcase how that curve was shifting out and some of the reasons that could happen. Now we're going to talk about supply for a minute. It's the opposite. Basically, if we were a supplier and we were making goods, we would want to make more of them if the prices were higher. So if we could make more on each unit, we would obviously spend more time doing so. Common questions that you might see: why do roses cost more on Valentine's Day? And why is it more expensive to go to Europe in the summer? Think about any other supply related questions you might have, or send me an answer through email about this, and we can get the conversation started about how supply does make such a difference in what we end up demanding of it. Here is a graph of a supply curve. It is called an upward sloping graph. You can see how when the price is down here at the bottom, close to zero, we demand or we supply very few items, but when that price goes up, we will want to supply several more items. Reasons for shifts in supply. Please note that that would change a quantity supplied if there's a change in the price, but anything else could shift that supply curve. I wrote here number of sellers, advances in technology, government restrictions, expectations, and taxes and subsidies. There are also shifting curves in supply, and they look like this. Note, it's exactly the same as demand. This is a shift out. We could also shift in, which would shift it right about here. This could be maybe we'd supply more because the inputs were cheaper that month. And so we would buy extra and make more of them because it was cheaper to do so. We're also going to look at equilibrium price and quantity. If you think of equilibrium, that's just where, in general, everybody is happy. And that happens right here at the center of our supply and demand curve, at the center of the X. So for this graph, it would showcase a price of $9 and a quantity of 30 items. And generally at the top, you have an item. So let's say this is soap. It would be at $9. We would sell and demand 30 items. So that gives you an idea of what a graph with numbers look like. We don't do tons of graphs with numbers the first time we go through supply and demand, just because you're still learning how to draw the curves, and we want to make sure you have an idea of shifting in and out before we do tons of numbers. We will do a few though. Okay, let's say for instance we have flat screen TVs. These are very popular now, and when we bought our first one, it was when they first came out and they were very expensive. We spent, I think, $700 or $800 on a very cheap item. The technology required for flat screen TV production becomes cheaper, and that's what's happened to us over time. And so you can see here are possibilities. Our supply curve could shift outward, or it could shift inward. We notice, our inputs are going to be cheaper, so we can make more. So we see that supply curve shift outward. That will cause our price to go down, and we'll end up selling a lot more of these items. Another example, steel. The government introduces environmental restrictions on the dumping of waste from producing steel. When this happens, it's more expensive to produce steel, and so we'll produce less of it. So we'll see the supply curve go to the left here. We see that a lot with government restrictions. Sometimes we'll even start outsourcing it, employing less people to do so because we can't make as much money on that as we used to. We can also notice a change in the price of a good. It will result in the change in quantity supplied, results in a change in supply, is a determinant of supply, or causes a shift in the supply curve. Okay, first we got to remember back when I was talking, the change in the price of the good will only change quantity, either supplied or demanded. So we look for quantity in the answer. Anytime price of a good, quantity. So quantity supplied, this top one is going to be your answer here. Your next one is, which of the following events would cause a rightward shift in the market supply curve for automobiles? The first option is a technological improvement that reduces the cost of production. The second is an increase in wages. The third, a higher sales tax. And 4, a decrease in the number of sellers. So if you notice down here, these 3 would do the opposite. This top one would cause a rightward shift. It would shift out. We can produce more at the same price. The other 3 are going to shift us back in the other direction. Okay, now we're going to look at designer clothing. Consumer confidence in the economy improves. And now we notice we're looking at the demand curve and not the supply curve. So if the economy is improving, we have a job, we think we're going to continue to have that job, we'll go ahead and demand more of those items. So we'll see that demand curve shift rightward as we are confident that we still are going to have some money coming in. Another example, candy bars. We're becoming more health conscious and we prefer power bars instead of candy bars. So our demand for candy bars shifts inward, and I don't know if this has happened in your household, but this is a common thing that's happening. We're demanding less candy bars and more of the health type bars. Okay, here's another question. Peanut butter and jelly are complements. A decrease in the price of one will create an increase in the demand for the other, a decrease in the demand for the other, an increase in the demand for the other. That is the same answer, and an increase in the quantity demanded of the other. The answer is an increase in the demand for the other, as we will demand more jelly if peanut butter is on sale, because we can't really have a peanut butter sandwich without jelly. Sorry about that error. Okay, show the changes in the market for beef when the price of corn, which is a cattle feed, rises and the people become more fearful of mad cow disease. And so we're going to show this right here on the graph. An increase in cost causes the supply to decrease, and the fear of the disease will cause demand to increase. Okay, so we're going to draw, here's our demand curve. We're going to shift it in. We're afraid of mad cow. And then our supply, we're going to draw a shift in here because our increase in costs. So we're going to have a situation where we're not selling nearly as much beef at this time. Okay, show the changes in the market for cigarettes when the government increases subsidies for the production of tobacco at the same time bans smoking in public buildings. Okay, a subsidy encourages production and it'll cause our supply to increase. So we'll shift that curve out this way. And now let's look at our ban on smoking. That will cause a decrease in demand. So we have one curve shift out and our demand curve will shift in. And so our equilibrium will be down here at this point. There is a video on here. It's another Seinfeld video, and it is pretty interesting. I hope that you'll consider watching that and that you will learn more about bread and more about supply and demand in this video. If you have questions on the video, if you want to send any to me, that would be great. You can also give me a call. Thanks for watching the video this week. Have a great week.